Cyber Reapers. Hello, Cyber Reapers. So, tonight or today, whenever, wherever you are, I would like to talk about a book. So for tonight, we're switching over to a contemporary book, a young adult contemporary, and I can't believe that I didn't know this book existed. If I did, I would have read it probably much sooner. But yeah, I don't know if you've heard of Angie Thomas, but if you've read The Hate You Give, then, well, same author. I didn't know, though, that there's another book, standalone, separate, its own thing, but by the same author. So that's this one, On the Come Up, by Angie Thomas. So, let's talk about it. First, to appreciate this cover real quick, I'm gonna try to make it to where you can see. It's a little hard with glare, though, with the lighting and the library shiny cover. But, yeah, there are certain, like, the pieces of the outfit are kind of referenced at different parts of the book, and so they have some significance. But yeah, our main character, Bree. So, On the Come Up, let's talk about it. So. This is a contemporary book. It was published, I think, a few years ago, I think 2019 or so. So it takes place roughly maybe before 2019 or so. And you kind of get some of that from certain, like, references in the book, political references. And, yeah, I'm just gonna say right now, there is a lot of important discussion and nuance and things that are spotlit in this book, particularly around how Black people are treated and how Black people have to decide how they're gonna go through the world with what limited options they're given at any given time. The constant policing of Black people is very much covered in this book. But let's start with Bree. So, our main character, her name is Bree, and she's a teenager, and she's, going to school. She goes to a school that's got, like, a mix of kids of different races, but the ones who are particularly kind of harassed at the metal detector entrance, those kids who are harassed tend to not be the white kids, so not good how they're treated. But you try to bring that up with a white person, a white parent at that school, they just do not listen. So, anyway, though, that's part of her reality, but she's also got, like, some really, like, positive parts of her reality, primarily in her relationships, and her passion. And let's see, what do I want to talk about first? Let's say relationships, since I said that first. So she's got her mom and her brother. She's really close with them, but she's always kind of had there's a bit of tension that's still there between her and her mother, because her mother is a recovering addict, and, like, she's been, several years sober now, but there was a period of time where Bree and her brother didn't live with their mom because of that. So there's still tension in kind of the family with the grandparents and the mother with that aspect. And also Bree's father was killed during, from what I remember, essentially due to gun violence. And you can read more about the details of that in the book. But without her father, she feels a sort of like connection to her father, in particular through her passion, which is rapping, hip-hop. She's really good, and the world doesn't necessarily know that, but she's looking to be one of the greatest rappers ever. Like, she's studied the greats. She knows how to find the flow and the rhyme, like on the spot, of coming up with words for rap battles, which is super impressive, by the way. I admire how people can do that. Like, I can't come up with words very easily that flow with a rhythm and have rhyming even, and also, coherently make sense. That's so impressive that there are people out there that can do that. And this book is it feels like a bit of like a love letter to hip-hop in that way, and also the respect that the plot and the characters have toward the history and intent behind a lot of hip-hop. The lyrics in particular too are so good because they actually flow off the page. I was like bobbing my head as I was reading what Bree was saying. There really is an actual flow to the lyrics. You can tell. You don't have to just take the character's words for it. That Bree is good. You can tell that Bree is good with what she comes up with on the spot when she's rapping. You can tell it's her passion. You can tell she's good at it. And it kind of, she often comes up with rhymes too, outside of just whenever she's trying to come up with lyrics. Sometimes it just kind of comes to her. She thinks of a word that is associated with her life, and words just kind of, phrases kind of flow into her mind. And I think that's a really neat thing that happens throughout the book, that is kind of part of her way of processing the really tough things that happen to her. Yeah. And one more thing to mention about Bree before we get into like plot, because this is all kind of set up. In addition to her family, Bree has, connections to her community of friendships, and also kind of extended family as well. And maybe a bit of a romance kindling between her and another person. And then also a little bit of a weird sort of romantic spark between her and a childhood friend. But there's like tension there because they don't know what to do with that. So there's that. Also her aunt, who's super supportive of Bree trying to start up her rap career. Who else to mention? I already said brother. There was a lot of people. Bree has a big system of people she is connected to. And the plot really tests her connections, really tests her relationships. So I think, starting off there, let's get into it. What actually happens, right? So Bree, even though, Bree's in school, but she's not really focused on her grades as much as she's really focused on trying to start her rap career. She's really excited about that. And she wants to step outside kind of the shadow that she's been in, because her father was well known among the neighborhood that she lives in, her father was really well known for his good rap skills, and she wants to step out on her own and be known for her own skills and not be known as his daughter, right? So she goes to a rap battle and she kills it. She does great, and people record her, record the rap battle, and people love it. She's starting to get some attention for it. Enough attention, in fact, that she's able to go find a studio and record a song of her own. And so that's really cool. That's an awesome opportunity. But among all of that, she's dealing with the burdens of how other people look at her and how other people treat her. Like, she can be so well known and respected among her community for her amazing talent, like the night before, and then like the next day or a day later, she's mistreated at school by the guards who think she's smuggling something into the school. And I mean, she just, like, they think she's bringing in drugs and she's not. And it's really, that narrative gets carried away and twisted, and all of a sudden people in the school think she is dealing drugs because that's just what they decided she was doing, even though really it was just the guards were racially profiling her, and they were kind of violent. No, they were violent. I don't mean to put kinda in front of that. They were violent, and it was a really troubling experience for Bree, understandably. So that's the headspace she's in whenever she goes to record her song. She's feeling really a lot of these mix of emotions in reaction to that, in reaction to how people are viewing her and how they treat her. And so she writes a song that is really powerful and rallies a lot of people. It's called On the Come Up, and in it she uses a lot of metaphors that are violent metaphors. Keep this in mind. It's important that it's a violent metaphor. But to somebody who's not looking past the initial, like, the surface of the lyrics, it sounds like she could be, like, inciting violence, and that's not what she's doing. But things get carried away as that song gets more and more popular, and it's even used as like a rallying cry against the guards who are mistreating the black and brown students at the school. So all of a sudden, oh no, white parents are getting concerned about this violent song that apparently one of the students wrote. And Bree is sitting here going, it's not supposed to be violent, and even if it were, how are you blaming the song for what the cops at the school are doing? And so there's a lot of issues that come up from that. And it's so sad to see, because Bree makes mistakes, but those mistakes shouldn't be as costly as they are. They only really come with consequences because she is black. If a white kid had written those lyrics and white kids had rallied around those lyrics, there wouldn't be nearly as many consequences as a result. It really is that all these white parents and stakeholders in the school got all up in arms and concerned over this because she is black and because those students were black and brown and viewed as dangerous more than their white counterpart classmates. And that's just, there's so many nuances in this book of really important topics, and I know I'm gonna miss some, and then there are others I'm gonna deliberately avoid because I think they come later in the book, and I would rather you just, like, read it and experience all of it in its entirety the way it's it's written. But I think that one is a really important one to bring up as like a, it's what kind of is shown in the blurb. Because the blurb talks about how Bree gets this reputation kind of slapped onto her. This violent sort of reputation that she didn't ask for. And people run with that. And as she starts to become a little more successful because of that song, now people are viewing her as sort of this like violent menace, and either she can take that and run with it and potentially get money with it, or she can try to shut it down but go nowhere with her career with that, She risks not being able to make money from it. Now, what's the big deal about that? Well, her family is poor. Like, really poor. They're behind on bills. Their electricity gets shut off often. They almost lose the apartment that they're living in. There's a lot of financial problems that they're facing. And Bree sees that and sees that, oh no, my mom just lost her job. My brother is having to pick up the slack and not go to school because of this. And Bree is going, okay, I really want to help. I want to make money to help my family right now. I can't wait to, start helping. So that's what's really urging her on. And what makes this so difficult for her is all of that. Because it comes with social and emotional consequences for her to accept the likely money-making path of accepting, or at least not rejecting, this reputation that is being forced on her. So she could get money from it, but she also has to face the emotional and social consequences, or she doesn't face the social and emotional consequences by not following through with that, but then she faces the financial consequences. And the fact that she's even put in this situation at all is very... it's so horrible. And a lot of it is driven by racism. It's... yeah. This book covers a lot. It's really good. I highly recommend the read. All of that was just talking about primarily a premise. But yeah, there's a lot to it. And I think that's probably the amount I want to tell you about plot-wise what happens. But I can tell you a little more maybe about some of the stuff I liked in terms of the relationships and stuff. So let me review my notes on that to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh yeah, Bree herself, she's so funny. She's so funny and quick-witted and clever. She's so fun. I love reading her internal dialogue or her thoughts. It's so fun. She's so clever. Like, in addition to the songwriting lyrics, she's just and also the dialogue between the characters really shows a lot without them saying necessarily everything as well. I love how the dialogue was written. And going into that, the relationships in the story felt super grounded, and also having some nuance because, as Bree is going through all this stuff, the people around her are also witnessing this and also getting impacted by it. And they're also concerned for her. I mean, she's a teenage girl getting into all this stuff that really should not be forced onto her. Especially not so early in her life, but also just in general. This stuff shouldn't be so difficult. She shouldn't have to watch every single word she says. She shouldn't have to think about the consequence of what other people might do to her if she does something that feels right. she doesn't have as many options as a white person or a white teenager does. And that's, it's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking to read it. And to go, yeah, she's making reasonable mistakes as a teenager, but they have, like, larger than life consequences because she is black. She can't afford to make mistakes that teenagers should be allowed to make as they learn how life works and how to interact with people. But yeah, there's so much about this book that is so thought-provoking, so much discussion to be had, and really, like, mostly I want to listen in. Like, I can say some things to a certain extent from an outsider perspective, but I really do want to hear what black people have to say about this book. I really want to just, like, listen, because there's a lot more off the page probably to think about that I just don't have the experiences to back up or to relate to really understand the significance of certain aspects in the book that I wouldn't have noticed, you know. What else though? What else? So, okay, maybe I'll, like, finish up by saying, kind of some of the stuff on representation. I hope I don't miss anything, but, I'll do my best to kind of, to remember. So if you're looking for a book that has a, poor black teenage girl as the main character, this book. If you're looking for a book that has a predominantly black cast, as in pretty much everybody's black, this book. If you're looking for a cast that on top of that has, like, a mix of characters with different sort of socioeconomic statuses, like some of them are really, really poor, as in they're about to be kicked out of their house because their bills are so late kind of poor, all the way up to having friends in high places, doing real well for themselves, kind of a thing. This book has that range. And not just with, like, white people being the ones with the doing well thing. There's a range of black characters in that, in the socioeconomic status mix. On top of that, there are characters who are members of a gang. They deal drugs, they deal with gun violence, they deal with violence in general. This book has that. In addition, the mother, like I said, Bree's mother, is a recovering addict, so there's that as well. There's a lot that is covered with respect to, like, what choices black people are given and how they do their best to survive and maneuver through this sort of almost predetermined world where they can only do so much without getting serious consequences forced upon them. It's really intense, and yeah, it's really intense. And, like, what do you do whenever you or your family or your friends experience some kind of violent event and you can't go to the police? Like, who else are you gonna go to? Stuff like that. This book has all of that. Now, in addition, there's also a romantic subplot, and even, I really respect this book for this, there's even a relationship where it feels like there could be something romantic there, but they're try the romance thing, they go, nah, we prefer being friends, actually. So there's that on top of the romantic subplot. Yeah, this book has so much, and it's wonderfully written, and it's making me want to go back and reread The Hate You Give, because Angie Thomas's writing is super good. I remember the feelings that The Hate You Give gave me back when I read that book in high school, but it's been so long that I think a reread would be really good, actually. But this book definitely holds up. I know there are some reviews online where they were like going, I was a little worried that this book would not be as good because of how wonderful The Hate You Give was. You know what I mean? How well written The Hate You Give was. But no, this book is really good too. Like, yeah, I read the reviews a little bit and was going, yeah, okay, I can kind of understand that perspective. That's gotta be really hard for an author who, their first book is like this stellar, very, very well-known, recognized book. Like this, that's their first book. Like, how do you follow that? I think this book definitely did a really good job of following it. While being in like the same sort of universe, it's a different story. It's its own story, covering similar issues and topics, but in its own way, and with its own lens, perspective, all of that. It was really wonderfully done. So, yes, I highly recommend this book, and I can't believe I didn't know that this book existed until I went to the library just browsing around, and I saw Angie Thomas, The Hate You Give, and then I saw this book next to it, and I went, I didn't know Angie Thomas wrote another book. I feel silly for not having known. So, I read it. And yes, I highly recommend it. So, that's all I have to say, I think. I feel like that was very much a roller coaster of, let me talk about this, let me talk about this, let me talk about this. And it like just kept going and going, even more than usual, maybe. And I hope that it was coherent. Yeah. I can't come up with phrasing quite as well as Bree does. No, I can't come up with phrasing at all anywhere near as good or as coherent or flowing as Bree does. But I can at least encourage you to read this book. Yes. Or just, talk about this book, and now you know some things about it. Yes, alright, okay. Thank you so much for listening. You are an awesome listener, and I hope that wherever you go next, whatever you do next, that it is fun and or relaxing and or